Do you sometimes feel like bending over backwards to please others because you think they have extremely high expectations of you? Then let's chat about people-pleasing and unhealthy perfectionism. I'll talk about the psychology behind it and give 3 practical tips. Hi everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Ava from FlowLab, the mental fitness app for ambitious minds. Today we'll look at ambition from another perspective. While striving for excellence is a fantastic thing, something that helps us to improve and find flow states, our motivation behind it matters for our well-being too. We at FlowLab want to redefine the term productivity because we think it shouldn't be simply about getting things done, but doing so while remaining mentally healthy and motivated in the long run. Sometimes when people put a lot of time and energy into a project, they don't do so for the mere pleasure of making progress and growing beyond themselves. It's more important to please others, to not disappoint them, and do everything we can to meet their expectations. In psychology, we speak of it as socially prescribed perfectionism, feeling the urge to perform perfectly when you think that other people expect perfection from you. We already talked about perfectionism in earlier videos. We had one where we explained that there is also a positive form of perfectionism that can help us to find more flow states, and another one about self-criticism and self-blame tendencies when imposing perfectionist standards on oneself. So if you're interested in perfectionism, make sure to check them out too. In this context that we're talking about today, socially prescribed perfectionism, people have internalized the belief that others' approval is connected to their performance and are therefore afraid to let them down or get rejected. This form of perfectionism is generally considered maladaptive since those affected are driven by external pressures. Success for them is not necessarily about learning and improving, but about making others proud and earning status. Perhaps they go to piano lessons they never really wanted to attend on their own to please their parents, or revise the keynote for the 5th time to satisfy their micromanaging boss, or they feel pressured to complete another HIIT workout only to make their partner happy. But also the opposite can be true, not putting in more effort, but less, resulting in procrastination. We have a playlist on procrastination with loads of background info if you want to dive deeper into that topic. Perhaps you find it rather counterintuitive to put off one's task as a socially prescribed perfectionist when actually focusing on getting others' approval. But it makes sense if we take a closer look. When you're too anxious to start, but then become stressed about not getting anything done, deliberately putting off these scary tasks provides a welcome excuse of why something didn't work out. So basically, a lack of effort rather than ability explains the failure, thereby protecting someone's self-worth. This fits with the finding that socially prescribed perfectionists tend to adopt a victim mentality and blame others for the things that go wrong. I know victim is a harsh word, but technically, as a victim, we need others' validation and aren't responsible for what is happening around us. It's much more comfortable to let things happen to us. At least that's how it seems. A little geek knowledge that I found very interesting in this context when I made research about it was that these patterns of low self-esteem and dependency are also reflected in their humor. Psychologists generally differentiate 4 humor styles. Self-enhancing humor, which means using humor to appear in a favorable light. Affiliative humor, or using humor to strengthen social relationships. Aggressive humor, so using humor to enhance the self and making fun of someone else. And self-defeating humor, which is using humor to strengthen relationships at the expense of oneself. You may guess it already, socially prescribed perfectionists tend to use the latter one, self-defeating humor. Maybe they say things like,
How stupid can a person be?
About themselves, or
of course I had to make awkward small talk again.
Even if it's meant as irony, it's a joke at their cost. So maybe pay some attention today or the upcoming days which type of humor you tend to use most often. Socially prescribed perfectionism can also have very serious negative outcomes. There are studies emphasizing the risk for burnout, lower life satisfaction, as well as anxiety and depression. Also, socially prescribed perfectionists feel less supported by others and are very, very sensitive to interpersonal cues. But there are a few things that you can do to reduce these maladaptive tendencies. So let's get practical and talk about a few tips. My first tip is to play worst case scenarios till the end. This anxious overconcern is a typical and of course dysfunctional pattern among socially prescribed perfectionists. They may fear to receive criticism, to lose others' approval, and to fail. And when completely consumed by anxiety, we're often only thinking about the worst thing that could happen, but not what would happen afterwards. Although this may feel scary at first, play your worst case scenario until the very end and really visualize how you would cope with that situation. Because what you might realize is, on the one hand, that you are able to handle much more than what anxious you tells you, and on the other hand, that the worst case scenario is usually not the most realistic one. So take a deep breath and put things into perspective. Tip number 2 is about the art of not giving a f***. Let me start with a little reminder that your self-worth does neither depend on your achievements nor on other people's feedback. You don't need others to validate your existence or worth. And no matter what expectations they may have, you still have the choice to let them or to determine your own standards. Of course, this was much more difficult to realize and implement as a child, but we can challenge our old habits and thinking patterns now. And at the risk of sounding like your mom with a wagging finger, let me give you this gentle kick in the pants to assume responsibility for your actions, which is not the same as taking blame. It means taking back control, shaking off the victim mentality and remembering that you're worthy because you stay true to yourself. Real connections will stay even if you don't live up to their perfectionist standards. So if you allow yourself to not give a f*** about others' opinion, what does success look like for you? Even if nobody would ever know about that success. Of course, internalizing these things need time and repetition. We need to actively train our mind to let go of negative belief patterns and cultivate new, more adaptive ones. So here's a little reminder to make mental fitness your routine and check out the session Stay True to let go of socially prescribed perfectionism. The last tip is a powerful and perhaps underestimated one. Play safe, but play. In a paper from the early 2000s, the researcher Neumeister suggests that socially prescribed perfectionists benefit from increasing intrinsic motivation and setting mastery instead of performance goals. Whereas performance goals are focused on either outperforming others or not performing worse than others, mastery goals are focused on learning and improving, using one's own past version as a comparison. In her study, participants reported that they had the best learning experiences when they knew they weren't evaluated. They felt safe to explore, to experiment, and discover their intrinsic love of learning. So block some time to deliberately play and experiment with your task or activity. If you adopt the mindset that there is no right or wrong in the first place, it will be much easier for you to explore your intrinsic motivation. In the long run, this will eventually help you shift your focus away from the things that others might want you to achieve towards the things that matter to you. Also, feel free to explore your intrinsic motivation and passion with a flow session driven. All right, I'd be curious to hear which jokes you recently made at your expense. Let's collect them in the comments. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching till the very end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're interested in more mental fitness content, also check out our social media channels. All links are in the description. Otherwise, have a great day and hope to see you soon. Of course, internalizing these... Oh Mann, ey, heute ist nicht der richtige Tag.
Manchmal ist es schwierig.
Ich kann nicht mehr sprechen. Das ist die Hitze.